Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. I wanted to talk to you about the 3 necessary items you need for a successful claim. I might throw a couple other things in there as well. Actually, I know I will. I'll throw a couple more things in there because here's the thing. Everybody talks about how important it is to get service connected. Yes, super important. However, there's a second piece to the pie that if you work the second piece in conjunction with the first piece of getting service connected, your life is going to be much better because you're going to end up getting not only service connected, but also the appropriate rating. So I'm going to kind of just rattle through that here with you. So in the meantime, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, watch the video all the way through. I really appreciate it. For those that know, you've already heard the story. For those that don't, my original channel was hacked, and yes, it was because of me. So, I don't know, a self-hack? I don't know. Anyway, I clicked on a dumb link that I shouldn't have clicked on, embedded inside of a PDF that looked super legitimate. So, note to self, don't do that. And note to you guys, obviously, you've heard it 1,000 times. Beware and make sure that you verify and double verify and all that. So, in any case, this is a temporary setback on the primary channel, Veterans Info Tap. And that primary channel, I am getting back. I've already gotten my Gmail account back. I've gotten everything squared away there. And I'm working with the YouTube team who've already identified that, yes, my channel ended up getting hijacked. And they're in the process, and we're in the process of getting me back into the driver's seat, and we'll get that back up and running here shortly. So with that, let's jump into the topic at hand. Again, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, all that. I really appreciate it. Truly, let the video run. That's going to help YouTube know and push this information out to more. All right, so the 3 things that you need for a successful claim. Number 1, you need to have time and service, right? So everything you have to prove to the VA. So have the idea that you need to prove this information to the VA. How do you prove it? You prove that with your DD-214 or DD-214s, right? So you might have multiple. What this does is it gives you a window, an entry date, exit date for service-connected conditions. Now, obviously, there's so much nuance in veterans' disability claims and all that stuff, with presumptive conditions and 1-year presumptives and all that type of stuff. I'm just focused on the standard. I'm trying to get service connected with something here that's not presumptive. So your time and service gives you that window of opportunity. Number 2, you need to have a diagnosed condition, right? You can't self-diagnose. The VA doesn't like that very much. So you need to have a diagnosis from a doctor that really shows that you have X condition. If you have a prescription, great, that's good too, because you can show that information as well, because you wouldn't be taking medication for something you weren't diagnosed for, right? So that helps. The condition must be chronic in nature or have some sort of residual effects. Okay, so it has to be an ongoing problem. You can't just, I had X condition and now it's gone. That doesn't really work. You need to have an ongoing problem. Okay, so that's number 2, that diagnosed condition, chronic in nature, or has some sort of residual effects. Number 3, the third thing that you need, and this is where a lot of people fumble the ball, it's the nexus. It's the link between your service-connected condition and your time in service. Okay, so I'm going to kind of show different variations of that here for you. So, when we're thinking of nexus, you're looking at that link between your time in service and that condition. Now, the ideal, the gold, the golden grail, if you will, the holy grail of it all would be if you got diagnosed for a condition or ailment or injury or whatever while you were in service, okay? That would be the ideal situation. Okay, so that's the ideal, right? The ideal is that you got diagnosed while you were in service, okay? Most people, unless it was an injury, did not get diagnosed while you were in service. Your next best bet is that you have something documented in your service treatment records. Anything. A mention of a sign or symptom, some sort of problem that you were having, some sort of a complaint, not necessarily a diagnosis, but you've mentioned either the condition or a sign or symptom of that condition, if you will. Now, there are physical health assessments that you take typically annually, and you may have on a self-attesting form checked a box that said that you had migraines or painful swollen joints or whatever it is. Now, that's great because that is helping to create that nexus. It's showing that you mentioned it while you were in service. This is really important. Okay. Now, that's your next kind of best situation. Your third best situation is, well, it's not really, it's kind of the worst situation, is you did not mention it at all in your time in service. No mentions of signs or symptoms, anything like that. You got out, 5-10 years went by, then finally you went and got diagnosed. So now when you're talking about a nexus, right, you're trying to prove to the VA that you had this condition that manifested or is a result of your time in service in some, way or shape. So if you did not get diagnosed while you were in service, but you mentioned it, that's great because you mentioned something and you can utilize that, and that's really going to help your case immensely. But you would still want to go ahead and do the following as well, and that is work with your family members. Ask your family members if they could write what's called buddy statements for you. People that knew you when you joined, maybe they knew you, obviously family members, they knew you before. You didn't have, we'll use migraines for the example, because that would be a good one that people do not document while they're in service. So you did not document anything while you were in service. You neglected to put it down on the self-attesting form for fear of some sort of reprimand or something like that, becoming non-deployable. So you didn't put anything down. So now you have family members that can attest to, he never had migraine, he never complained of migraines or headaches before he joined, or she. And when he or she came home after so many years in, came home to visit, on leave, whatever, sat down with a bottle full of Motrin, right? And said, oh yeah, I just take it I get some migraines or I get some bad headaches or whatever it is. So they could write those letters attesting to that. You would want to write a letter yourself describing why you did not get seen or mention it during your time in service. Typically it's going to be fear of some sort of reprimand, right, from your immediate leadership, right, your E4, your E5, potentially your E6 is going to reprimand you in some fashion. So you didn't. So you're going to describe that, and then what did you do? You probably just asked your medic or your corpsman for Motrin, right? That's what we all did. So here's some Motrin, drink water, change your socks, have a great day. So you do that. So you're going to write that down and explain that situation. And believe me, they've seen that situation 1,000 times. So it makes sense. You want your story to make sense. So now you have your family members that got your back. You explain the story. Now you might have kept in contact with somebody that you actually served with who could attest to, oh yeah, I remember he was always taking Motrin, right? So they could write you a buddy statement. Then you would work with your doctor to get them to write you what's called a nexus letter. Now, it's basically just, this is my patient, diagnosed with migraines, blah, blah, blah. Onset for migraines was in, June of whatever year. And, it's in your time in service. And that it is in their opinion that ideally you're going to say more than likely manifested during your time in service. Or you could say at a minimum, it's at least likely as not. And you're going to hear that phrase. At least likely or not, as not. And the reason why you're going to hear it is because that is the VA's threshold. It's a 50-50 equipoise situation, right? So if evidence is for you and against you and it's balanced, equal on both sides, evidence is in equipoise, the VA is supposed to rule in your favor. Do they always get it right? No, of course not. But if you have to push it to appeal, that's where they'll sort it out and get it right for you, which is important, right? Because then you'll get approved, you'll hold on to your back pay and all that good stuff, so that's all great. So at a best case scenario for your doctor would be to write that it is more than likely. Your worst case scenario is, look, can you just put down it's at least likely as not? And Now you have all of that stuff to submit along with your claim. Now, as you're working your claim and you're working on your evidence, okay, that should wrap you up for getting your approval for service connection, okay? Now, you want to get the right rating. You must understand what the VA is looking for with regard to your condition and the VA's rating schedule for that specific condition. You can find that on the VA's rating schedules. It's a bit cumbersome, but if you want to kind of bypass that, you could just type in Google and search VA rating schedule migraines for this example, and there's going to be 10 attorney firms that have the information pulled directly from the schedule of ratings from the VA, and you'll be able to take care of that there and see exactly what verbiage the VA is looking for in order to rate you either 10, 30, or 50% for migraines. Read them. You know you better than anybody. When you ascertain which one would be you, oh yeah, I meet all the criteria for the 30%. Great. Or I meet it all for the 50, or I meet it for the 10. You know what you need to basically have as far as conversation is concerned with your doctor. You want to make sure that you're using the VA's language. Use the VA's language as you're developing your evidence, right? Every conversation you have with your doctor, make sure that they're putting the notes in the system for you. Now, this is also going to be important if you're able to have your doctor, one, write that nexus letter for you. They can incorporate verbiage directly from the schedule of ratings. This is what the VA rater is going to compare your information to, so make it easy for them. They can add that into the nexus letter. You can get a public-facing DBQ, that's a disability questionnaire, and have them complete that, inserting the verbiage from the rating schedule. Very important. Then also print out that rating schedule for your specific rating for that condition. Keep it with you handy, or write it down, or whatever you do. Keep it with you for when you get called up to go to your C&P examination. When you go to your C&P examination, they're going to ask you questions, and you want to make sure that you hit all of the cross all your T's, dot your I's, right? When you're in there at your C&P exam. So make sure that you have the right verbiage to be able to share with that C&P examiner. It's going to make it a lot easier to get rated the appropriate rating. So I hope you followed all of that. Keep in mind, push to that 100% mark with secondaries, with increases, with new claims, because once you get to that 100%, life is really in a different position, because you can hopefully get that switched over to permanent and total. It's a great place to be. Additional benefits open up. For example, the income piece with a spouse and a child, you're looking at about $4,100 per month for 100% permanent and total. Chapter 35 opens up education benefits for your spouse and your dependent children. Champ VA opens up, which is health insurance for your family. So there's some great things that open up, not to mention state benefits like real estate tax exemptions, your vehicle registration waived, that type of stuff. So very important that you strive to get as close as you can. Be rated appropriately in any case. Keep in mind that 100% is not actually the highest rating you can receive. It's the highest on that rating schedule. But for the more severe situations, the person that was rolling in a convoy and it got hit and they have some major issues, they are on a whole other rating schedule called special monthly compensation. So do not think that you're taking away from somebody if you're trying to obtain 100%, or if you meet somebody with 100% rating and they look, quote unquote, fine to you. The ratings add up, and you can get to a 100% and look and be able to function fairly well in life. So just kind of an important side note. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.